Alright, now it's time to animate a jump. Now, whenever you're working on complex animations, I highly recommend you to use references. So you can just go to Google and type something like jump animation reference, walk cycle reference, run cycle reference, and so on. So if you're a beginner, I recommend you to start with basic images, and then once you go more advanced, you can actually start looking at the videos and analyze the videos and then animate through those videos. Now, in this case, I'm already going to provide screenshots of the jump animation reference, and now we can begin. So before I recreate any pose from the reference, I need to give my character a basic starting pose. So again, I need to select the keyframes which I'm going to animate, select the hands, select the body, select the head, and select the legs as well. We're not going to animate any other bones. So make sure you have your R2 keyframe turned on, make sure you're on 30 FPS, and make sure you have location, rotation, and scale turned on. And now we can go to frame 0 and then press on I to set a keyframe for all the bones which we just selected. Now I'm going to scrub through the timeline and feel what's the appropriate frame for the jump animation. I think around frame 50, if the character jumps here and then lands over here, I think it's enough. So I'm going to go to frame 50 and set the end frame to frame 50. And now I'm going to imagine the animation, and I think that should be enough. So I want this jump animation to be looping again. So I want the character to jump, stand, and then get the exact same pose as here. So first I'm going to create a very basic pose and make the character bend down slightly, move forward, rotate this forward, rotate this up, and rotate this inwards like this. Break the twinning in the legs, avoid twinning, aka avoid too much symmetry. And what I recommend to do as you're posing your character, I recommend to look at it from all angles. You can also go to front view, side view, not top view, because it's not necessary. Or you can look at the character from different views. Now, once you're happy with the first pose, again, select all the keyframes which you want to copy by shift selecting them. Select the first keyframe, shift D, and then copy this over to the last frame. Now I think we're ready to create our first pose. Our first pose looks like this. So as you can see, the character's body is bent forward, and then his legs are preparing to do the jump. So we're going to go forward on frame 5, for example, and we're going to try to recreate that pose. So I'm going to take the body, so select the pelvis, press on RX, and then rotate it forward. I'm going to take the torso and then rotate it forward as well. So RX, rotate it. Then I'm going to take the arm, move it back slightly, and then I'm going to bend the arm inwards like this. And one cool little trick I want to show you is you don't have to create a pose from scratch for this arm, because once you're happy with the pose on this arm, let's look at this from all angles. I think I'm happy with this. I can select the shoulder, select the forearm, then select the keyframe on frame 5. Make sure I have all channels keyframed. For that, I'm going to press on I. Now, once I do that, I'm going to press on Control C, and then I'm going to select both bones here. So select the shoulder, select the forearm, press on I to set a keyframe, and then press on Control Shift V. And now it's going to basically copy the keyframe as a flipped pose. So if you copy keyframes, for example, on the right side and you insert them with Control Shift V on the left side, they're going to be exactly the same. Now we want to avoid twinning, so maybe rotate it slightly like this. Maybe bend it outwards like this. So it's a very fast way to copy and paste keyframes across different body parts, basically. Now the head is looking forward, so I'm going to select the head, RX, and then move it forward. And I'm going to look at the pose and see if I like it. I'm going to look at it from all angles. So I think right here, maybe I can bend the hand like this, bend the hand like this. And I'm going to take this leg and then maybe slightly move it outwards like this, just slightly, so that it's not sliding too much. And now once we are happy with the pose, we can go forward. Now we can go forward and create this pose right around on frame 10. So this pose is more extreme. As you can see, the character bends down, the character's hands go even backwards, and the character prepares to do a jump. So now I can take the pelvis, go to frame 10, press on GZ, move it down, and then rotate it inwards again. Do the same thing here. On the torso, now I can take the leg, move it across even more. Maybe take this and move it outwards as well, but don't do it too much because then we're going to have some feet sliding, which we don't want. Maybe take these hands, move them backwards even more. Move this backwards even more as well. Bend it even more. And let's look at this pose from all angles and make sure that I like this pose. So from front view, I need to fix this, break the twinning over here, and move the head up because the head is supposed to be looking forward. Then I'm going to go to side view and see if I like the pose. I'm going to bend these arms like this. Maybe press on G, Y, move it forward. and make sure to play around with the pose until you're happy. I think I like this pose now, and then we're ready to move on to the next pose, which is this one, right before the character's feet leave the ground. So right now, if you notice, I'm doing pose-to-pose workflow, and I'm going on frame 5, then frame 10, then frame 15, and so on. And if I don't like anything, I can always change the speed of the animation later on. So now I'm going to go to frame 15, and then let's try to recreate the exact same pose. So I'm going to press G, Z, move the character up, then G, move the character forward. Then I can press on Alt-R to clear the rotation, and then Alt-R here as well to clear the rotation. I think that's way too much, so I'm going to press on RX and then rotate the body slightly forward. I'm going to take the hand, rotate it up like this. I'm going to take the head and move it forward because it's up way too much. Now I can again select this hand, select this keyframe, Control C, then select this hand, and then Control Shift V right here. And then we can break the twinning. And let's look at the pose from the front view. So maybe we can stretch out the arms slightly like this. Stretch this arm out like this. Make sure we don't have twinning. Even if there's a small difference between the arm position, make sure you have that, because if you're twinning, it's not going to look as appealing and natural. So I think this pose is good enough. And make sure, one more thing I want to show you is that this next pose is going to be in the air, where the feet are going to leave the ground. But the most important part is that before the feet leave the ground, we need to tell Blender that on this frame, the feet are staying here. Because we need to tell Blender that there is a keyframe here, even though the feet are not moving at all. Like from here and frame, like from frame 10 and frame 15, the feet did not move at all. But we still need to tell Blender that on frame 15, I want the feet to be placed here. Because if I go forward and then move these up, I'm going to get like this weird motion, you know? The feet are not going to wait, basically. But then they're going to start moving straight from frame 10. But we want them to start from frame 15 instead of frame 10. We want them to start a bit later, like this, you know. So before we make any drastic movements to the feet, make sure you set a keyframe before they leave the ground. And right here, we need to tell Blender that right before the jump, the feet are staying the ground and the feet are touching the ground. So I'm going to press on I and make sure I set a keyframe. Now I think we're ready to create the next pose, which is going to be this pose where the character is in the air. So I'm going to go forward on frame 20. And then I'm going to take the pelvis and then move it up like this, GZ, and then move it up. Now I'm going to take the legs, press on GZ, move them up. Then I'm going to move them forward, move them up. And now I want to break the twinning. So I'm going to take the right leg, for example, and then move it forward like this. Take the left leg and move it down slightly, rotate it outwards. Let's break the twinning with the hands as well. Move it up. Move it up like this. And then let's rotate the body like this. So let's rotate it backwards, rotate it inwards slightly. So select this. So let's select the pelvis, move it inwards, and move the torso outwards. We can also create a bit of exaggeration. So what we can do is select this torso, press on G, Z, and then move it up so that this character stretches in the air. We don't have to do it, but it's a small detail, which is going to give it a more fun, cartoony look. So again, move it backwards. We can also take the head and move it backwards as well. And make sure to check the pose from all angles, and I think that looks good. Now, the next pose is right when the feet touch the ground. So I can go forward on frame 25, for example, and let's try to recreate the pose. Now, I want the feet to be touching the ground, but since the animation is looping, when the feet touch the ground, I want the feet to be placed exactly as they were placed in frame 0. So I can either manually select them and move them down, but what I can do instead is select frame 0, press on Shift D, and then move them on frame 25. And now they're going to be placed in the exact location where we want. So now I can take the body, for example, take the pelvis, and then move it down. And then right when the feet touch the ground, the pelvis is backwards slightly, so I can move it backwards and rotate it backwards like this. I can select the arms and then move them up so that we can feel the impact of the character jumping and touching the ground. Make sure you view the pose from all angles and that you're happy with it. We can take the head and move it slightly forward. We're basically trying to recreate the pose and follow the reference, basically, by following all the tools which we just learned in the previous chapters. So now I can select the torso, and it's too stretched right now, so I can press on Alt-G and then clear the location, and then make sure it's in the starting location. And now make sure to tweak the pose, break the twinning on arms and legs, and once you're happy, we can move on to the next pose. So right when the character touches the ground, about 5 frames forward, he's going to bend down to show the impact of the land. So I'm going to make the character go down like this, GZ, move it forward, then rotate it forward, do the same thing for the torso. You can do Alt-R first of all, and then move it forward like this. I can also take the head, move it forward slightly, take the body, move it down, and then let's break the twinning in the arms, and then make sure to recreate the pose which we're seeing on the screen. I'm going to look at this from the front view, make sure I'm happy with it. And feel free to tweak the pose from all angles until you're happy with it. Now I'm going to move the body down even more, maybe move it backwards slightly. And now I think frame 30 and frame 50 are too far away. So I don't think we need to create any keyframes between frame 30 and frame 50 to keep things simple. So what I can do is press on A to select all the keyframes, select frame 50, and let's move it to frame 40, for example. Now I can go to the end frame, control end, and set the end frame to 40. So now let's deselect all the keyframes and let's watch the animation from the start. Let's see how it looks. For this jump animation, which obviously needs some tweaking in terms of speed and in terms of the moment and the impact. So now I'm going to select the keyframes and let's adjust them. So first of all, I think the animation is way too slow. And again, if you want to speed animation, you can select all the keyframes, hover over your timeline, go to frame 0, press on A, press on S, and then I'm going to type 0.8. I think the part where he jumps down is way too fast, so I can select these keyframes. So this is when he's in the air, and this is before he jumps, right? So when he lands, I'm going to select these 3 keyframes, the last 3 keyframes, and move them up slightly, so that he stays in the air for a little bit longer. So now I'm going to set the end frame to frame 35. Now in this case, my start frame is 0, my end frame is 35, and my jump is almost 1 second long, a little bit longer than 1 second. So once you're happy with how it looks, you can either leave it or you can either start polishing it. So right now I think I could use a bit more exaggeration. So when the character bends down here, I think I could take it and push the pose even more, because exaggeration is one of the most important aspects of animation. So the character bending down looks decent, right? But I can make it look even exaggerated. So I can take this, press GZ, move it down, rotate this inwards even more, rotate the torso even more as well. Do the same thing for the head, move it up slightly, move off the hands, and let's see how it looks. You can see it looks a bit better, it flows nicely, so I can do the same thing for the jump. So maybe when he jumps up, I can make him go higher. So the way I can do that is select the pelvis, select both legs, move it up like this, maybe move it forward again, maybe stretch it out even more, so GZ, move the torso up, rotate it backwards, rotate the head like this, move the hands up even more, so that we can just exaggerate the poses, right? And now that looks way better than the first attempt, right? So you can go ahead in your animation and polish it the way you want. And I think right here, what I don't like is that the hands are pretty much in the same position, right here and then right here. So what I want to do is break that. So between frame 16, when he's in the air, and on frame 22, where he jumps, the hands are in the same position. And that's not what I want. I want the hands to be high here, but I want them to be even higher here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the hands backwards and then stretch the forearms like this. And then what I can also do is do the same thing for the other hand. And another neat trick I want to show you, since Minecraft characters don't really have shoulders, we can actually, instead of changing the rotation, we can change the location of the hand, because that's what you can do, but don't do it too much. So what I can do right now is select the hand like this, and then press on G, Z, and then move it up like this. And do the same thing here. G, Z, move it up. And that looks a bit exaggerated, but when you watch it animation in real time, it's going to happen fast and it's going to look very nice. So let's see what we have. As you can see, it looks way more impactful. And what we can do as well, the extra stuff we can do is between frame 22 and frame 26, we can see that the arm is stretched and then it bends like this. So what we can do is go between 22 and 26. In this case, it would be frame 23 or 24, for example. So I'm going to go to frame 24 and then bend the forearm like this and then bend it forward like this to show that when character lands, his forearms basically squash and stretch. So now if you watch the animation, you can see the impact it's having, right? It's very subtle, but it's a very good detail. It squashes right here, stretches a little bit, and then we can stretch it on frame 30 all the way. And now you can see with just adding a few keyframes, we improve the pose a lot. Now, this is fine, this looks decent, but I want to show you a cool, neat little trick. It's a bit cheap, but you can still use it to make your animation smooth. So let me show you how to do that. So what we can do is select all the keyframes, then expand the timeline and then go to Graph Editor, Control Tab. Then press on A to select all the keyframes And now I'm going to expand it and make sure I'm seeing all of my keyframes. So you can see we have a lot of curves, a lot of keyframes. And now what we can do is press on Alt S and then choose Smooth Gaussian. Now, once I do that, I'm going to get this slider. Now, if I slide this all the way up, you can see the curves are going to become more round and smooth. Now, don't overdo it. On some animations, you don't want to have smooth movements. But in this case, I want my animation to be a little bit smooth and I want to speed things up instead of manually polishing things. So again, this method is a bit cheap. It's not the most professional, but you can definitely do it. So let's try something like 70%, right? So I'm going to slide this up to 70%. You have the percentage number over here. So I'm going to slide this over here and let's see how it looks. I think that looks way too floaty and way too smooth and I don't like this. So I'm going to Control Z, then press on Alt S again, and then maybe give like 20% of the smoothness. Because if I do 100 or 70, the feet are going to start basically sliding and flying around all over the place, which is what we don't want. Now in this case, it looks way better. The feet are still sliding, so I'm maybe going to Control Z. Maybe let's do something like Alt S and then do 10% of smoothness. So this is a great way to make your animation smooth very fast. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And one more thing I want to show you is if you want to create an impact, you can create an impact by animating the head. So if I want to animate the head and show an impact, I can go to the frame where the character lands, which is frame 22, and then bend it slightly backwards. Now I can go to frame 24 and then press on RX and then bend it backwards even more. Now I'm going to go to frame 26, which is already keyframed, and bend the head forward. So basically the principle is that on frame 22, I keep the head forward. Then on frame 24, I bend it backwards to show the impact. And then after 2 frames on frame 26, I bend it forward to show the impact and to see how fast the motion is happening. So now let's rewatch the animation and you can see the impact it's having. So just by animating the impact on the hands and the head, we already made the motion look a lot better. And we get the idea that the character is jumping and we got this cool, intense jumping animation. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this chapter. And I will see you in the next lecture.